Hello everyone and welcome! Today we're going to have some fun with our English by jumping into a story that I'm sure you all know and love, Cinderella. You know, using classic tales like this is one of the absolute best ways to learn a language, so let's get right into it.
So I've got to ask, how well do you really know the story of Cinderella? Even if you can tell it backwards and forwards, hearing it in English is just fantastic practice for your listening skills. We're going to go through the story together, and then we'll stop to look at some really useful vocabulary.
All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with Cinderella's unhappy home. Then we'll see what happens with a royal invitation and a magical transformation. After that, we'll follow the prince's search. And to wrap it all up, we'll review 5 key English words from the story. Sound good? Let's start with part 1.
So our story begins, well, it begins in a pretty tough place. Let's meet our main character. She's a very kind girl, but she's dealing with some really big challenges.
Here she is, Cinderella. Now the story tells us she's both kind and hardworking. 2 great qualities to have, right? But things took a really sad turn when her father passed away. Suddenly, her life changed completely, and she was left to live with her stepmother and 2 stepsisters.
And this new family, they were just awful to her. They treated her so badly. I mean, she basically became their servant. She had to do all the housework, all the cleaning, all the cooking. Her life was so miserable that she even had to sleep near the fireplace just to keep warm at night.
You know, that's actually how she got her name. Cinders are those little black bits of ash and burnt wood you find at a fireplace after the fire goes out. Because she slept near the cinders, her family started calling her Cinderella. It was really a mean nickname.
Okay, so things are looking pretty grim for Cinderella. But then, something happens. A single piece of news arrives, and with it, a little spark of hope.
One day, an invitation shows up at the house. And it's not just any invitation, it's a royal one. The king is throwing a huge party, a royal ball, and he's invited every single young woman in the entire kingdom. And why? Well, the prince is looking for a wife.
As you can imagine, Cinderella was so excited. This was her big chance, right? A chance to get away, to wear a nice dress, to just feel normal for one night. But her cruel stepmother just shuts her down. She flat out tells her she cannot go. All that excitement just turned right into disappointment.
I mean, just picture that. She had to watch her stepsisters get all dressed up and leave for this amazing party, knowing she was stuck at home all by herself. It was just too much for her to handle. At that moment, she just broke down and began to cry. But wait, this is a fairy tale, isn't it? And in fairy tales, just when everything seems totally hopeless, that's when the magic begins.
Okay, check this out. First, out of nowhere, poof, her fairy godmother appears. Then, with a little wave of her wand, she turns a plain old pumpkin into a spectacular carriage. Next, she gives Cinderella the most beautiful dress you've ever seen and these incredible glass shoes. But there's one really important rule. All of this amazing magic is going to disappear at the stroke of midnight.
So, can you believe it? Cinderella actually makes it to the ball. This is it. But what exactly happens when she gets there? Let's find out.
The second the prince sees Cinderella walk in, he is just completely captivated. I mean, totally amazed by how beautiful and kind she is. In fact, he's so taken with her that he dances only with her for the entire night. But then, the clock starts to strike 12. Cinderella remembers the warning and has to run away. In her hurry, she leaves behind one of her glass shoes on the palace stairs. The very next day, the prince, who is heartbroken, starts a search all across the kingdom. He's looking for the one and only person whose foot fits this tiny glass shoe. And when he finally finds Cinderella, it's a perfect fit.
And so that brings us to our happy ending. The prince marries Cinderella, and after all of that sadness and all of that hard work, she finally gets to live a happy and peaceful life. The life she truly deserved all along.
What a great story, right? But we're not quite done yet. Now comes a super important part for our English practice. Let's review 5 really useful words we came across in the story. This is how we really build our vocabulary. Our first word is hardworking. This is an adjective, and it describes someone who puts a lot of time and effort into their work. Cinderella was definitely hardworking. In Turkish, this is çalışkan.
Next up, we have the noun stepmother. A stepmother is the woman who is married to your father, but she is not your biological mother. In Turkish, you would say, üvey anne.
Remember how the king invited all the young women to the ball? The verb to invite means you ask someone to come to an event, like a party or dinner. The Turkish for this is davet etmek. Now for a really fun word, magic. Magic is that mysterious power that makes impossible things happen. You know, like turning a pumpkin into a carriage. In Turkish, the word is sihir.
And our last word is kingdom. A kingdom is a country that is ruled by a king or a queen. The prince had to search the whole kingdom to find Cinderella. In Turkish, this is krallık.
So there you have it, 5 fantastic new English words. Now I've got a challenge for you. Which one of these new words are you going to try and use today? Pick one and write a sentence with it in the comments below. Seriously, practicing is the